going live, it says. So we will see. I'm gonna share this on Facebook. I'm tagging the people who asked to be tagged over there. If the connection is shit, let me know. It's my internet. Okay, so the internet in the region has been ass lately. Apparently they've been, quote, working on it. So I guess winter is the best time to work on the internet. And I say that with exactly as much sarcasm as that sounds like I'm saying it with, because it's totally absurd to me that they would begin working on the internet when the ground is frozen. But, whatever. That's one of the things. Like, I'll get into that in the stream, but living in Spokane made me realize things about the Silent Hill series that I didn't know before. Anyway, let me get into the ad read. This is sponsored by Liberty Professionals. Liberty Professionals will help you secure your home, small business, and life. It's run by a residential security expert who's an ASIS board-certified physical security professional. And if you need work done in the Virginia area, they do missing persons investigations, skip tracing, and more. Contact them for more info. He has all the necessary tools in his toolbox to bring you peace of mind and stability for the future. Support Liberty businesses and these streams by heading over to libertyprofessionals.com to get your consult today. All that being said, this stream is also possibly going to be brought to you by viewers like you, because my fundraiser for a better setup is about 23% so far. So if any of you want to help me with that fundraiser, feel free. There's a link in the description. There should be anyway. But in general, I'm looking to get a better setup so that I can fucking actually do this sort of thing better. So fucking anyway, we got comments already. Sup, Jeremy? I love your content. Hello. I hope to continue pissing people off for as long as possible. Mad Doge Production says, yep, here in Oregon also. Yeah, see, okay, so this is what I found out about Silent Hill when I moved to Spokane. Because I lived in the desert my whole life. Like, it gets cold there, but most of the ground is sand, which is just decomposed rock. So the sand doesn't retain water that well. And when the sand did get moisture, most of it would filter through relatively quickly. And even in the winter time, it was still relatively easy to dig. But here, so there's this scene in Silent Hill 4 where you find, I think it was a trowel, and it's frozen to the ground. And you have to find a way to get it off the ground, if I remember correctly. And I remember thinking when I was smaller that that's like so fucking stupid. How could it be frozen to the ground? It seemed like the most asinine description of like the state of this trowel. But now I get it. Now I get that things can actually be frozen to the ground, because like when I was living in the Deep Canyon area, like north of Airway Heights up here in Spokane, which is like local slang, but whatever, like the mountain region of Spokane. I was like, it snowed a lot. It snowed a lot, and I was like constantly chopping wood for the house that I was in. And eventually, the stumps started to freeze to the ground. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what that meant, because I couldn't fucking get these stumps off the ground. The flat had just like right into there. It was fucking incredible. Like, I had never seen anything like it before, because I've been a desert rat my whole life. But anyway, I just thought I'd get that. Like, the internet has been shit. They, for some reason, decided to work on it now, even though the ground is frozen, and even though like all their trucks are going to be beset by ice. I don't know if that's intentionally retarded or just like accidentally retarded, but it seems incredibly stupid to me. I don't know, maybe it's super normal and I just don't understand it because I've lived in the desert, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is that if this starts to stutter or if it like has dramatic enough issues, let me know. Also, the internet will be better if I get my better setup. Because if I get my better setup, which I have the GoFundMe for, I'll have a better Wi-Fi card. For about a year and a half now, I've been using this, well, 2 years actually. Yeah, like 2 years with this particular computer. I've been using this little USB Wi-Fi card that is not very good, but that has been helping me, because I have no other setup. All that aside, when I do get a better setup, a lot of this is going to change. Like, the video quality right now is not where I want it to be. I like what I'd like to do, like those hangers back there. I'd like to cover them up with a green screen and have a camera set up over there so that I can do like really cool videos. I want to get a better camera. I want to get all these things, and that's why I'm running that. So I thought I'd start out with that because the like one of the things that I've seen is that where people have shared my fundraiser, people have accused me of grift or scamming or thinking people are stupid, and I'm going to come out with a full-on video about that because I might as well make some content. But essentially, it's all based in, like, essentially people being wrong about my intentions. My intentions are only to get a better setup so that I can make better content for people who've already been watching my content. I'm not trying to, like, get a big new audience out of like this fundraiser specifically. That's why I've only, like, me personally, have only attached this fundraiser to content that I've put out. That way people who like the content can have a concrete place that their money is going to. But all that aside, like, that's not the point of this stream. The point of this stream is to have a chat with you guys. So if there's any subject you want me to go over in this stream, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll see if I can address it. Because basically, like, I want to do one of these a week. And when I do get a better setup, one of the things I'm going to get is a phone that I can directly hook up and specifically use for call-ins. Because I want to have an interaction with you guys. I'm wrong a lot when I'm just like brainstorming ideas, and I try to kick out as many of the bad parts of the idea as possible before I put something out. But essentially, like, I want to have that interaction, that direct interaction with you guys, and I don't want people to have to schedule like a Skype call with me every time they want to talk. So that's my current goal, is to get a good enough setup, not only to stop pulling my hair out over it, but to, like, give you better content and more direct interaction. So with all that being said, we have our first question in the chat about Virginia and gun rights. I mean, I covered that relatively thoroughly in 2 videos that I went over, but for the purposes of this chat, what I'll say is that Northam is a redcoat, and I hope he's pushed out of office. I'm not going to say too much more, but the effect that I want to have is I want people to start realizing that the state is not there for their liberty in any case. And a lot of people in Virginia sort of started to realize where things were, especially given the fact that this march, which was relatively peaceful and relatively, like, diverse, was called a white supremacist march with no fucking proof. None. I mean, there were white supremacists there, but that's like saying this is a white supremacist planet, even though, like, a tiny portion of the earth is them. So I think, like, largely, a lot of that was hysteria. I think the march went, I'm not going to say too much, but I'll say too peacefully to avoid saying something that would get me censored or thrown in jail. Because there is still the Smith Act, and I don't want to violate that, if you know what I mean. But what I'll say is that, like, I part of the reason that the march, like, gun rights exist. You should have the right to defend. Well, you have the right to defend yourself with commensurate equipment to what the state has. If they have a right, you have a right. Like, rights are inalienable. They're inherent to your humanity, and they're not subject to the rule of some, like, elected board. So the idea that these people get better rights when they become government actors, to me, has always been absurd. But, like, add to that the fact that like, when they get these sorts of positions of power, they almost always use them, the state that is, to inflict violations of liberty upon the masses. Like the fact that, every major dictatorship has always been preceded by some form of weapons control, should tell you something. Additionally, like, the thing about the march is, I'm glad people got together. I'm glad they had their assembly. But like I said, with the Clearview app, they were watched. They were monitored. Their pictures are all available now in easily searchable videos and social media posts. And with Clearview, all you have to do is snap a picture of somebody's face with your cell phone, and you can determine who they are, what their address is, etc. Now, this was never released to the public yet. They're considering doing that. But this was released to law enforcement agencies, and it's been, or officers, and it's been used by Leo networks for like multiple years now. And so, yes, I'm glad they marched, to put out a show of force. But it's also like, it's a mixed blessing, because they showed that they were angry. They showed that they were, willing to stand up. But they also showed, and there's a permanent record of their showing now that can be publicly indexed and searched by. Oh, by the way, that's a squeak of this leather chair. It's a very cheap Walmart leather, and it's not very good. So I just wanted to dispel any rumors that that was fucking gas or something. Anyway, fucking back to the subject. They're indexed. They're all in an index now. They're all, like, very clearly cataloged, and every single one of them has some sort of connection on social media that the state can now use, with, like, very few exceptions. And those exceptions will probably be monitored more closely now. Like, why aren't they on social media? Why can't we find them anywhere? And the state might use that as an excuse to follow them home, to use the security cameras to see who might be missed in their dragnet. Like, I know this sounds insane, like I'm just a ranting conspiracy theorist, but I absolutely am a ranting conspiracy theorist. That doesn't make me wrong. And like, people should stand up for their rights, but they should stand up for their rights normally. It shouldn't take a march. These marches are barely useful. And they certainly didn't change the laws. Northam and his gaggle of thugs specifically didn't give a shit what you people thought. They still pushed the laws through. In fact, there were a significant amount of laws on the books, not just the one that was protested, that they were considering implementing. And a lot of those laws are now laws. They were bills, and now they're laws, Fucking. So, I'm glad that there were a significant amount of people willing to walk around in the same area for a period of time. But ultimately, it's not very helpful, I mean, Republicans mock, like, Antifa and people who are involved in riots and shit. But, like, I believe it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said a riot is the language of the unheard. And I think a lot of these people are slowly starting to realize that they might be wrong about protest, and that maybe there should be more direct action. And I applaud that. Like, I've spoken to some right-wingers who didn't believe me about all these things. Like, they didn't believe me that a lot of these laws would still work even if they protested. And now these laws are laws, and nothing changed. And these Republicans, these right wingers, are now slowly starting to ask, well, I mean, how does anarchy work? Like they're slowly like it's sort of like my family and friends who thought I was full of shit because I said Trump would win, and because I said that we were gonna get a 5G surveillance dragnet. Um, they're slowly starting to come back and ask me how this shit is gonna work because the insane guy wasn't so crazy. And I'm just asking people, like, this is my essential summary of the VA situation, Virginia. Like, realize that you have potential here and don't let it go to waste on marches. Marches aren't going to be very effective. What is going to be effective is showing up like you did for Whiskey Warrior. That's what's going to be effective. Is going to be proving that you're willing to use your Second Amendment rights. That's what's going to be effective. Anyway, one more message in chat. Pleather. It is not pleather. But what it is, and this is the reason after 1 year of use, like a little over 1 year, it's already pretty much degraded. Because I got this chair at Walmart as soon as I got here because I shipped all my stuff that I'm using right now by UPS. Like I couldn't afford a moving truck with the $1,000 that I had, while still having enough for a car. Which yes, there was a disaster with the car situation, but that's a different story. So I got this chair at Walmart, and it was the cheapest chair with like a reasonable back and armrests, and so it's not pleather, but it is not very good leather because it's laminated, which means that there's a layer of leather enough to say that there's leather in it, but not enough to actually be durable. It's not a very good chair. Would not recommend. Um, so that's my general vibe, right? Uh, like realize that the gun rights that you have are only useful if you use them. Realize that they're only going to be useful if you're willing to stand up when it counts. Like Whiskey Warrior was a test. I think the state really wanted to see how many people were willing to come out in force, and a lot of people were willing. But that's what's valuable ultimately. What's valuable is coming out. Is it's like showing up when people need help. If somebody's being red flagged, don't wait until the pigs kill them. Come out. You know, form networks prior to, join Keybase, because as somebody pointed out in chat, we got Mad Doge Productions saying StreamYards works, so does Discord. I might use StreamYards. I'm not on Discord. They banned me for trying to expose pedos. I think you were around for that. So like, and I'm not gonna restart everything on Discord either because like I don't want to lose all the effort that I do put into it. But all that aside, um, we've got like an idiot in chat who has been trying to claim that libertarian fascism is possible, uh, and he's now accusing me of wanting to red flag people. That's literally not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that people should come out in force when these sorts of tyrannies start to happen. What I'm saying is that if somebody is being red flagged, that people should come out and help them and use their Second Amendment rights. But your comprehension issues are strong. This guy was on Facebook yesterday trying to tell me that libertarian fascism is possible, and he wanted to do a collab, even though he's coming out in support of Christopher Cantwell. So take his words for what they are. But no, I don't want to red flag people. I never said to red flag people. In fact, I've come out very strongly against red flag laws. But comprehension isn't your strong suit, so whatever. Um, Thank you for the compliment, Mark 18 Motto. I hope to earn it, to be honest, because I want like I want to earn everything people have given me, and I think my content lately has been better. I've certainly been getting more subs from it. So I want to earn it, because I honestly think a lot of my content previously has not been that good. But one of the things that I'm doing, I worked for a significant portion of today on the notes for tomorrow's like latest episode of the weekly Hellscape. That's coming back, and I wanted to like get that particular message out because like honestly, I slacked quite a bit, and then there was a bunch of issues with trying to move from one place to another in Spokane here. People who've been following me for a while know about that situation, but in general, things have seemed to stabilize, and like I'm looking to actually earn the support people gave me when I was starting to really pick up steam with the weekly Hellscape. That also means that since I now have better software, which is HitFilm Pro, I'm going to be doing a video version. So there's going to be a YouTube video that's going to come out first, and around the same time, there's also going to be a published podcast feed. But the YouTube video is going to be me in like with an equalizer and shit, and it's going to look cool as fuck. Because now I have the plugins required to do equalizers and shit. So there's going to be a significant amount of good stuff coming. But that's one of them. And what that means, and like one of the reasons that it takes so long is because I try to include a variety of news stories, compile them, and explain them all at once, so that like you get an hour of a battering ram of terrible news. It's supposed to be the antithesis of like the morning news kind of bullshit blase, butter yellow couches, the kind of thing that Bill Burr had to come up against regularly, doing his F is for Family tour, where he came out with like, I still love that interview where he said, well, don't you think the Catholic Church should be held accountable for their crimes? I forget we can't talk about those crimes because this is a morning show. And that's sort of like, that sort of mentality is what I want to oppose. Even though I'm not crazy about F is for Family. I think it's a good show. I just, I would rather watch, Shut Eye or something like with actual people in it. I really like, my ideal show is Jack Ryan or Burn Notice or something like, real with some real world implications. That's the kind of media I like. But I laughed at some things in F is for Family, and I definitely appreciate that he came out with the show and wasn't willing to just back down when the PC police tried to shut him down. It was everything people do these days is monitored, and people try to control it. It's such fucking bullshit. Anyway, in general, things are going to improve, and I'm going to come out with the next episode of Hellscape tomorrow. So look for that. Let me check the chat here. I've been promoting your channel everywhere I can, bro. Thank you. Like I said though, I hope to earn it. Like, I think I'm getting close to the level of being okay with the quality of my content. It's the best I can do with the tools I currently have. But I'm not satisfied yet, and I'm also like an aggressively negative, cynical, pessimistic asshole like to everybody, but like picture how like coarse I am to everybody else. It's nowhere close to how hard I am on me. And like maybe the quality of content other people are okay with is like lower than the bar I'm setting. Maybe I'm setting myself to impossible standards, but I wasn't satisfied until very recently. I think I'm slowly starting to get there though. Let me check the chat. You pick and choose whose rights you support. Nope, I don't. That's actually the opposite of what I do. Bullshido says, new audio recording for you to edit is on the drive. Cool. I've been doing editing for his show, by the way. I did his shout out also a few weeks ago, I want to say. If you want to listen to one of the worst podcasts out there, feel free to listen to his. He wanted me to phrase it that way, but it's the Not a Real Libertarian podcast. You can find it on Anchor FM. Were you dropped on the head as a child disavowed? Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. Mark 18, guess what, dude? Got the grand power today. I don't know what specifically you mean by that. Anarchy is actual freedom. Do you think you would do a response video to Hoplu and agorist Zach, who criticized your beliefs in anarcho-coalitionism? I don't know this agorist Zach character. You'll have to send me the link, because I already responded to one Hoplu video. Hoplu is, I think, like, at least somewhat retarded, because he does this thing regularly where he'll ignore good ideas that like, he has extreme cognitive dissonance, where he'll ignore good ideas that weren't presented just so. And like, I I really trashed his response to anarcho-coalitionism in a video a while back. Of course, it wasn't the quality I wanted. It was just like a video of fire on the screen. But, you know, whatever. Fuck it. Maybe I'll do a remastered version with higher quality. But, like, the point is that I already responded to his original video on anarcho-coalitionism where he called it a plague. Which, by the way, I'm going to do a full-on video on what ANCOL is, because a lot of people seem confused about it. But generally what it is it's like you find a goal and you find other anarchists you can work with toward that goal. Not necessarily the full-on economic paradigm you want, but that specific goal. Like, I would be able to see, like, very clearly ANCAPs and ANCOMs working together to disarm the police so that they can stop shooting people who don't deserve it. You know, so that they have to practice de-escalation. That is a coalition movement that I'm pretty sure all anarchists could get in on. But they don't, because they're too busy fucking fighting. And they're too busy earning virtue points in ANCOM versus ANCAP debates groups. And they're too busy sucking each other off on their own sides to realize that there's a significant problem with the division that the state loves, but that empowers them at our expense. And so I sort of started to see this, and while I understand that you're not going to get along with the end result necessarily of your opponents, if you're trying for statelessness and you can work on little aspects of shrinking the state, do it. That's the point of ANCOL, is to form small coalitions. It's largely based on splinter cell theory. It's largely based on, like, the idea that not every part of a working system needs to agree with every other part. Because if we all try for ideological homogeneity and we're not okay with, like, working with each other, even when we agree on a specific thing, we're going to fucking lose. So, I mean, that's my general response to people who dislike ANCOL. They dislike ANCOL on poor grounds, and they aren't willing to see reason. Looks like he actually took down his video, or I can't find his video anymore. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't fucking surprise me an iota, yo. 'Cause, like, his video was, not only did he sound terrible like he always does, like, Hoplu sounds like Marvin the Martian to the point where, like, a bunch of people just insult him by posting pictures of Marvin. But, like, like, it wouldn't surprise me if you realized how inconsistent his video was and just took it down. I think the one that says, like, it's a plague is probably still up because he claims he put in a significant amount of effort into it. But, like, I'll check for that at some point later. I don't have specifically the time right now. But it wouldn't surprise me if whatever this other video you're talking about is taken down. So if you can find it, I'll definitely see if I can respond to it. But, you know, People do that a lot. They try to come at me, and then they're unwilling to accept the consequences or the potential that I was right in the first place. They're really interested in trying to promote unfalsifiable conclusions, and they don't like it when I hold it to rigor. Um, Jonathan says, Jeremiah, what's some of the material for your next upcoming work? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but what I can tell you is that I have videos planned. I have the next Pedos and Power planned. I have a video planned that's going to be the first in a series where I'm going to do the same thing I did debunking the war on cops. Um, and but I'm going to do it like once a month where I'll just go over the tally regularly. Um, and I want to try and like really hone in on this issue because like people don't recognize how often they're being lied to and what these lies are used to justify. And if I could just regularly disprove this shit, people could just link to my playlist and prove to anybody who thought there was a war on cops that they're full of shit. That's my goal with this, and also that cops are always there to protect you. Like, you know, back the blue. Well, maybe some of the blue are fucking pedos, and you shouldn't back those blues. Maybe all of them are violating your rights and threatening to do so on a daily basis, and backing the blue is fucking stupid. I want to start to get to that point. That's what I want to start to get to the point where people can just like throw my videos at people like ammunition. Um, and like I already have people saying they're doing that too, which thank you, because sharing is the way that this stuff gets out there. But like I already have people saying they're doing that they're taking notes while watching them because I include enough information. All this stuff is stuff that I'm deeply grateful for. Because that like not only does it keep me accountable when I look at the comments, when I see that maybe I had a logical inconsistency, but it keeps me on the ball. The more people see my things, the more I have to put out. The more regular I have to be, and that's one of the reasons I need a better setup. Is because I need faster rendering time and more processing power to make better effects and shit like that. I want to do 3D animations and shit like that. There's a lot of stuff in the works I want to do that I can't do yet because I have a computer that's like 7 years old. But all that aside, my material that I'm doing, I'm not sure what you meant by that, but that's what I have coming up. Like things like that. Just battering rams against the state. I want to fuck them up like constantly. Um, JP, check out Cam Tactical. I gotta. Okay, that. How can I debate someone who believes in technocracy? That's from Andrew Tomashaska. Uh, Largely, a lot of these people are undebatable. And the reason they're undebatable is because they think they have the best technical knowledge. A technocracy, for those of you who don't know, is a society run by people who think they can maximize its efficiency. Typically, they'll be on the like grounds of like energy units that are consumed and like maximizing the energy output versus the energy consumption. But like there's also a lot of technocrats that like go with different schools that are trying to manipulate society, like the Davos elitists at the World Economic Forum, who constantly fucking belabor how awful it is that people want things. Like, you know, fucking that people want their own drill or their own toothbrush or their own whatever. A lot of these technocrats think that ownership is bad, that you should rent, that you shouldn't be able to eat certain things or do certain things because it's bad for the energy usage. And they're very convinced that they have the most efficient form of societal control. Now, technocracy is basically a cult. The further you get into technocracy, the more people consider themselves authorities, the more people consider their particular way and their particular approach the best, and it's all this cult of a bunch of basically nerds jerking each other off. So you can't really debate them once they get to that point. But you can get the people really early on who aren't fully bought over to the cult yet, the people who haven't fully drunk the Kool-Aid. And you can normally do that by one of two means. If they came to technocracy from a leftist perspective, compare it to fascism, because it's damn fine close to fucking fascism. The amount of economic control, the amount of artistic control, the amount of, just overarching societal monitoring and ideological cohesion required, it's very fucking fascist. If they come from the right, it's a little more challenging because the right is where fascism lies. So they're typically more receptive to ideas adjacent to it. So if they come from the right, though, they're also more receptive to markets. And what that means is that if you say, for instance, check out Hazlitt. Hazlitt was a great thinker against this sort of mentality. And there's a reason he's associated with the Mises Institute. So if you can get them to read Hazlitt and sort of start to realize that, the market, the people choosing what they want, and choosing the prices that they're willing to pay, and the price system being the dictator of value, is a much better way of determining what people are willing to put in to get certain things out, than arbitrarily dictating an energy cost, which will constantly change when new science is discovered. A lot of these people are bringable over, the deeper they get into it, the less likely you are to be able to succeed in that regard. So be careful, not to fucking just get absorbed into the cult yourself, and know who you're talking to and when to give up. Technocrats are not good people once they're deep into it. And they get worse and worse the deeper they get into it. I know people who now accuse me of being a significant source of their mental duress because I held them accountable for their technocratic bullshit when they were starting off. And they fucking blocked me. They fucking ran away from conversations. They refused to have an open debate on my channel. Shit gets real heated because a lot of these people believe they've got the best way from an emotional level, and they don't really care about facts. They don't really care about your opinion. They just care about pushing their own ideas, which is why they were driven to a fascist adjacent ideology like technocracy. Also read books on it. Also check out channels like Truthstream Media, who's covered it extensively. Technocracy sucks ass. And if you're talking to a technocrat, good luck. That's what I can tell you, man. Where are we doing? Mark 18 motto. Jeremiah, I'm paying attention, bro, and talking gun shit. Yes, yeah. No, I recognize that. Gun shit is good. And the fact that people are chatting in my chat is also good because engagement drives the algorithm. So I definitely appreciate it. Plus, if I ever want to learn about guns, I now know that I can go into chat and generally see information in that regard. So I don't have a problem with that at all. Just if you guys want to have conversations in my chat, long as you're here, I don't care. Long as the conversations are constructive. I had a guy in here the other day trying to turn this into a racist chat where he was trying to say women shouldn't be treated anything other than animals. I'm not gonna fucking do that, or black people or something like that. And even if he was joking, I'm not okay with that. So I basically muted him from the chat, and I think I lost a subscriber that day. But fuck it, I really don't give a shit. Bullshito says technocracy is the autistic idea that more bureaucracy equals more efficiency. Right. Yes. It's like saying, well, all we need is more middle managers. Yeah, that'll be a more efficient fucking information and energetic flow, you fucking Vogon. Whatever. Technocracy is ass. Jonathan Pacone says, Jeremiah, did you see my latest upload regarding a firearms manufacturer being an outpost for the Vatican to smuggle firearms to South American conflicts. I did not see that. No. I'll check that out a little bit later. Mark 18 Mod 0. Jeremiah, you should reach out to Brian over at High Impact Vlogs. He too worked for the Ron Paul campaign back in the day. You dudes could interview each other. I'd be happy to. Normally though, like I'm fucking radioactive, dude. People stay away from me, especially given all this smear campaigns. Like, there have been a long series of smear campaigns, mostly driven by women, over the past, I want to say, 3 years. And people have largely strayed ever since. Like, my engagement has fucking tanked when I wasn't pissing people off. So I'd be happy to. I think we'd have a good conversation on both of our channels. And I'd certainly appreciate the reach that would come from that. But like, let me be real specific. I think if I reach out, he'll shoot me down. So, I mean, if people, that's the thing. Most of my interviews have been like the people have had me on their channel have been other people requesting me to show up on their channel, because when I reach out, I get shot down more times than not. And it doesn't help that I have the appearance that I do online. Like, I have a very repellent image on Twitter and elsewhere. So people normally stay away because of that. But to me, if they're too weak-minded to look past a Twitter bio and see that maybe I'm saying some intelligent things, then I don't care. They can fuck off. I don't need their support, nor do I want it. But, that's the thing. Like, a lot of my interviews have come from people saying, hey, do you want to chat with Jeremiah? Because, like, it's sort of like vetting, like, if people that person trusts are saying that I'm not a terrible person, or the psychopath that other people have claimed I am, which, whatever, fucking, I've got psychological issues, but that isn't one of them, then, they're more likely to say yes. So, like, for instance, I recently reached out to some people who helped leak some information on some fascists, and I wanted to interview them. And they basically summarily said, go fuck yourself. I also reached out to one of the people that they exposed, who says he's no longer a fascist, to try and get like an interview with him to see if he's willing to fully disavow fascism and apologize in public. He didn't respond. So, like, people on both sides of issues will often turn me down. And, like, if I had one thing that, like, I could say about most of my stories, it would be, I reached out to X and they declined to comment. This is a really regular thing. So if y'all want to do a grassroots effort and try to get me on programs, I'd definitely appreciate it. But, like, if I spent all my time trying to reach out to people, I wouldn't have any time to make content. So I typically don't do that. Like, I want all this shit to be organic. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best way forward. Bullshido says, hey, Jerry, what's the chances of you getting one of the gun printing people on? I'd love to. If you people want to get, like, those people on, the defense distributed people, any of the people involved with Cody, I think his name was Wilson, if I remember correctly, any of those people, I'd love to have them on, gun printing to me is one of the symbols of freedom. The fact that we have code is free speech as a hashtag is fucking awesome. So I'm down to interview any of those people. Brian runs on high testosterone, brother. Trust me, LOL. My biggest... two separate people. Sorry, you're both orange in the chat. Yeah, I've appreciated a lot of his content too, like, especially since he's one of the reasons a while back that I started to look into Second Amendment audits and in general filming the police. He's very, very good about that, and he's also constantly promoting people who do that. He's sort of like Batasai in that way. Batasai is another great channel for that sort of thing, only he primarily re-uploads other people's stuff without any commentary. So both of those people are channels I would highly recommend checking out. And that's one of the other things. When I get to 1,000 subs, I'm going to do my first of many videos where every 1,000 subs, I'm going to shout out a channel in a full-on video. Because a lot of channels are channels that I have, like, really fully developed a, like, chunk of my philosophy or personality by watching. Um, like, I've been so, like, I'm an atheist, so I don't really use this word a lot, but I've been so blessed to um, finally interact with a lot of the people that I've been respecting for a long time. And I hope to increase my respectability level to the level where a lot of these people start to see my content the way I saw theirs. Because there's an extremely high bar as far as I'm concerned with a lot of this content. And he's definitely one of the people, Brian. Truth Stream Media, Corbett, all these greats as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I try not to do like hero worship shit, but they are massively, massively influential to me. Truth Stream and Corbett especially. And like, I want to get to that level. I want to get to that level of respectability and then maybe like transcend that. I want to do better than I ever thought I could. But I'm not there yet, of course. Not even close. So it's going to be a process for sure. Andrew says, my biggest problem is to whom would the bureaucracies be accountable when the shit hits the fan? Yeah. I mean, it's real talk. Like, a lot of these people really firmly believe that they have the only way. A lot of these people really like, and when it comes to holding them accountable, a lot of these people feel as though their system would hold itself accountable. And to me, that's one of the most asinine things possible, because we're talking about bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are not respectable as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, when you get to that level of like demanding that everything be run your way, you're to that territory where you're like on the verge of fucking like dictatorship. And yeah, it's a dictatorship of boards, and these boards are theoretically elected, but elections don't work if you're not in the majority. And that means that if your minority ideas are inconvenient to the majority, they will shut you down even if you're right. That's why I don't like these high centralization societies that people propose. I don't like it when people are constantly pushing their vision as though it's the only right one. And like, that's like, as an anarchist, if I push my vision, I'm not going to aggressively force people to abide by it. Like, my economic paradigm isn't necessarily going to be the prevailing economic paradigm. But if somebody tries to force me, I will definitely defend myself. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of these people really like the idea of forcing people to do what they want. Like, if only I was in charge. They're the fucking wannabe kings, the petty tyrants, the fucking the benevolent dictator complex of, like, just essentially a gaggle of small men trying to fucking like flex on people. It's really, really asinine. So I'm totally unokay with the idea of technocracy, but I'm also simultaneously unokay with tons of other societies that people want. So maybe technocracy will happen someday, and I'll just have to live with the fact that Davos elitists are in charge, and I have to rent every transportation I use. Whatever, though. Like, that's... Bureaucracy is going to happen no matter what. People are going to think that as long as they put enough fleas on enough fleas, that suddenly the problem of biting will stop. I'm not one of those people. So... thinking a guy like Control Plus Pew / Ivan the Troll / NBlock Press. Yeah, I'd love to talk to them. If they want to have a Skype conversation on air someday, I'd love to have them on. Printing anything that the state doesn't want you to have, to me, seems like a really good idea. I'm not going to say to do it because obviously, whatever. I don't want to be accused of like inciting crime, but like being very specific, I don't have a problem with it. And I'd love to see like a lot more people not have a problem with it too. That's what I'll say about that. And I'd love to have them on here. So if you can get them on, feel free. Jonathan says, when you ruffle feathers, I know you're my type of homie. Getting people angry can mean you're making them look at themselves. Yeah, to a significant extent. I mean, the whole cancellation thing recently where like hundreds of people were calling me a monster for days. And I like hundreds of people an hour. Like it'd be hundreds of people an hour and like thousands over the course of a couple days just calling me a monster because I fucking dared to say the truth about where somebody works. And then I dared to use a name that they've used publicly. Oh, you doxed me, shit. Like all of that was just she wanted to do damage control for a dumb fucking statement she made, so she picked a scapegoat. And she picked the wrong scapegoat, clearly, because I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere. But all I did was I showed where she worked. That's it. And that was enough to get me canceled. So that should tell you something about the caliber of people who normally hate me and spread a lot of disinformation about me. And all that, by the way, is in my channel. If you guys want to see more information on that, there's a video on that. So I'm not going to go too much into things that I've already made videos on. Fucking allergy season's starting to build up. Although I gotta say, like, I was surprised at the lack of allergies that I'm getting up here in Spokane, like, versus the desert. I guess a lot of my allergies were just dust related because while everything's wet, I'm getting so many fewer allergies than I used to. This time of year, I'd be fucking dying up there or down there, whatever, desert bullshit. Anyway, Erica says, I'm not scared of a spicy bio, lol. I live for this sort of talk. Yeah, well, and so there have been people who've literally refused to talk to me because I say I'm unapologetically angry. One of them unfollowed me the other day, and like he has nonviolent communication in his bio. He says, like, why don't you try being more positive in the future? And like I'm like, yeah, I actually mean to do that. And like while I was typing that, he was sending a tweet saying that like, oh, I just noticed you have unapologetically angry in your bio, unfollowing. I'm like, okay, fine. If you want to develop an echo chamber, that's on you. I don't. Jeremiah SJG Reports is another channel I think you would dig. Do you mean SJT Report? Because I know SJT Report and I'm subscribed, so. But Mad Doge says, I still want to get you back on my channel, dude. Yeah, I should be able to. Find a time to hit me up, because we were talking about that, and then for some reason it didn't happen. Like, I think I cleared that day so that I could be on your channel, and then it ended up not happening. So, hit me up. I'm definitely down. Anarchy is Actual Freedom says, I'm assuming you're open to coming out, to coming on podcasts if invited, right? My friend is an ANCAP and does a podcast with an ANCOM in hopes of uniting anarchists, which goes right along with ANCOL. Yes, I would be down. So, again, if they're willing. Like, a lot of people aren't willing, and a lot of people, like, who had a bad experience with ANCOLs now fucking stray from the entire thing. It's so stupid. Like, everybody's just in their stupid little high school cliques. So I'm trying to break people out of that and say, hey, you can talk to people. You don't have to agree with them. You can call them a fucking idiot, but talk to them. Like, being insular and isolated is no way forward. Bullshito says, the idea that more centralization equals more efficiency is quite possibly the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Yeah, but people believe it. People think, well, if you don't have this power, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yeah, good. If you can't do it voluntarily, don't fucking do it. And then like they're like, oh, fucking, we need a bureau. You don't need a bureau. You've got you. You've got you and your group of people. Be your own bureau. Stop looking for the proper file in the proper drawer and just do it. Fucking Shia LaBeouf status over here. Andrew says, if the state tells you don't need something, you need it. I mean, like, to a certain extent, yeah. I wouldn't start to be led around by being the gestalt of the state, though. Like, that's a good way to lose some sanity, as far as I'm concerned. Jeremy Stubbs says, I can't wait for when it's common for mainstream channels with tens or even hundreds of thousands of subs to openly advocate for disobedience to immoral policies instead of bitter acquiescence. Yes, hopefully. And that's one of the things, like, while the opposite is in power, a lot of these channels are upset and they are willing to do something about it. But when their side is in power, they shut up. I like channels that are willing to like go hard against both. I like rightists who oppose Trump. I like leftists who opposed Obama. Like Abby Martin, like Peter Coffin, like really solid people who like try to be consistent, even though they're statists, even though I don't agree with their general conclusions. I still appreciate the fact that they're willing to fight power no matter where that power is. That's what I like. Like Abby Martin was a huge eye opener for me. Her breaking the set thing was absolutely gold. And it like that's one of the channels I'll definitely be shouting out, because like the fact that she was willing to fight power as hard as she fought it and just consistently blast anybody who seemed to be trying to usurp control from minorities and the masses or whatever. She was huge in my development to anarchy, because she was willing to challenge that. She was willing to talk to Ron Paul. She was willing to like look hard at the war machine and say fuck you. That's what I like. Abby Martin is great, and since I've been discovering other people like fucking Cody Johnston, Peter Coffin, to some extent ContraPoints, those are the leftists I like. And to a similar extent, also constitutionalists who oppose, who oppose Trump in his violations of the Constitution. Like the people from Disenthrall seem relatively close to that. So that's what I want to see. I want to start to see people bring people from those people's audiences to anarchy, so that people can start to see that there's a way other than politics to get what they want. Also, let me post this in the chat, because there's a significant amount of people in the chat, and I just got to put this out there. This is the thing that's gotten people some of the most angry at me lately. So if you decide that you want to support this channel, feel free to do so. I'm going to put this link to a fundraiser in the chat, and this fundraiser is just for better setup. You don't have to click it if you don't want to. If you just want to be here for the chat, feel free to stick around. But if you want to support what I'm doing, there are ways to do that, and this is one of them. So I'm just gonna post this in the chat. Anyway, that's what I want to start seeing. I want to start seeing this coalition. I want to start to see people brought over to anarchy from their statist paradigms. And I want to start to see that, because power will always corrupt, and people on some level, people know that. They're willing to accept that, but you've got to prove that their side will do it too. That it'll always happen. And that means being merciless and fucking brutal about the consistency that you have with these people. Anyway, all that aside, most of my allergies are mostly related to a lack of alcohol. Yeah, okay. Of course, I mean that's just like you're allergic to bullshit, and not having it in your system means that you're less numb to the bullshit. So I understand that definitely. Weather hit me, dude. Sorry about that. Power went out. That was Mad Doge. It's totally fine. I just wanted to say that like I'm definitely willing to come on. Erica says, you should be unapologetically angry. Your channel shows exactly why we should be angry. I get a similar level of backlash for what I do on my blog and talking about philosophy on my Facebook. Yes, yeah. And that's the thing, like, it's one of the reasons I hate Star Wars. And I'll go into that on some level at some point, but the amount of people that like look at the philosophy of Star Wars and think, yeah, that's where I'm headed. The amount of people that use the philosophy of Star Wars to try and make their external philosophical points, like, it makes sense in that universe because, you know, Lucas and all those writers made the rules of that universe. But outside that universe, it's retarded as fuck. Only Sith steal an absolute. The absolute statement was, you know, like, there is no there is no try, only do or do not do. There's no effort to doing. Like, it's really, like, the whole thing is just asinine. It's truly asinine, but people use it. Um, and that's like, I don't like how people are boiled down to that level. And one of the things that I hate is that because of shit like that, because of fucking Star Wars and like all the fucking tumble down effect from that, the trickle down effect of Star Wars philosophy, everybody's anti anger, anti hatred. I'm not. I grew up Christian. I grew up being okay with like hating what God hated, and now that I'm no longer Christian, I'm still a hateful person. Now, that can be directed at the wrong targets, but I don't direct it at the wrong targets. I direct it at tyrants and usurpers and those who violate rights. If you don't hate those people, there's probably something wrong with you. You know, hate is just extreme disliking. Anger is just the root of hatred. If you're opposed to that in all cases, then you're saying that rape victims shouldn't be angry at their rapists, that victims of the Holocaust shouldn't be angry at Hitler, that there is no righteous rage. And of course, there's righteous rage. And the idea of just opposing rage, opposing anger, opposing every negative emotion, even though negative emotions are part of the reason we evolved to this point of greatness, even though being averse to things is the reason we can survive, I fucking can't stand that shit. Stop being a bitch. Get angry. Hate shit. You know? Fucking, anyway. I'm gonna make a video on that at some point, because righteous rage is massively underrated. Glenn Clark says, I recommend not calling people fucking idiots. Well, if they wouldn't be that, I wouldn't call them that. Ali Awed says, ooh, Jesus is back. Hopefully, you know? I mean, people would do a lot better if they were, if they tried to fight the demons out there. That's one of the reasons I want to get the weekly Hellscape fire back up, because the demons are crawling out of the shadows in stronger numbers than ever. So I'll be doing that relatively soon. Erica Payne says, reactivating Jeremiah. Jeremiah is not canceled. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, just takes support. Just takes people sharing my videos. Of course, you know, now that I'm radioactive, that's less likely too. Now that people don't want to talk to me, now that people think I'm scum, it's much less likely that people are going to share my videos, because sharing my videos now gets people called names, now gets people accused of a litany of things. I've watched it happen, and I've had to back people up. So sharing my videos is now a problematic thing. So be careful, you know what you're getting into, spreading this shit around. Bullshito says, the only bureau I support opening is the Bureau of Go Fuck Yourself. I mean, if you have a dresser, that's a fine bureau to open. Anarchy is actual freedom says, I've come to the conclusion that government is like the authoritarian parent that refuses to let their children grow up and have responsibility. Yeah, they love people who have failure to launch. They love people they can baby. That's the reason fucking Yang is popular. Like, he's smart, okay? He's very smart. He has good ideas. But the reason he has an audience is because a lot of people are either abused by the system enough that they just want a way out, or they never wanted a way out and they were just wanting a way to be coddled. And that's what this freedom dividend is for a lot of people. It's just a way for them to not do anything. So I I would interview Yang. I would talk to Yang. I might even have Yang as a friend. Um, but voting for him, endorsing his politics, I can't imagine anything less likely to happen. And that's the same thing with all these other like sort of like nanny statists who want to like, hyper regulate certain things and also give you rewards for it, like little attaboys. Like that's what the $1,000 is. It's your little stipend of like your acquiescence. It's your payment for obedience. It's your servile receipt. That's what it is, and that's why I don't like it. So is universal health care. It's like all of these things are just ways to buy you. And if you don't want to be bought, if you've launched and you want to be treated like an adult who can bring value to the conversation, asking the government to take from anyone to give to you is a poor way to send that message. I mean, I've been on government assistance before. I mean, not recently, but before. And I've watched the people who've been in that assistance. And a lot of them don't want to move on. They don't want to move forward. They just want that thing so that they can, like, they want the next thing. They want the free phone. They want the food stamps. They want the rent assistance. And, like, they have no designs on moving forward. Now, I understand that there's some disenfranchisement and some disempowerment, and I do mean to reverse that. But there is a point to which you need to realize that you're a welfare whore. And if you truly value yourself, if you truly think yourself worthy of respect, you need to try to get out of that situation. And I respect the hell out of the people who do. I really want to see all the people who are on it succeed. It doesn't happen frequently. It like turns into a life of being there and trying to make the best of being on assistance. I hated the amount that I took. I hated it when I took it. But you know, I'm an asshole anyway, and I don't like being controlled, and I don't like all the hoops I had to jump through in order to basically live. A lot of people get very used to that. They get very happy in slavery. And I'm not just talking about the left, by the way. Republicans tuning in, or watching this in somebody's like takedown video. I'm not like pushing any harder against the left than I am the right. And people who've watched me for a bit now know what I'm about to say. I just had on a war veteran who was in Fallujah and Afghanistan and multiple places. I just had on an ex-cop. Both of them are with me in saying that these are just government welfare programs. They're just ways to get free housing, food, utilities, etc. They're just ways to get your shit paid for, and all you gotta do is obey and force other people to obey. They're just arms of the state being paid for by the state apparatus. They're welfare whores. Okay? And like everybody loves to say, like the right loves to say that the left is welfare whores. You can't get X for free. But then you have to support the troops. The military is a huge expense. If the amount that was spent on the average troop was spent on the average at-home welfare recipient, the country would already be defaulted on all of the loans because nobody would support that. But they support it on a small scale for the military, for the troops, for elements of the bureaucracy. They don't give a shit about the cost. They don't give a shit that this is just people taking shit for free. Because it's their free shit. It's their take. It all needs to stop. All of it. But you gotta start realizing that your guys suck too. That's what the statists need to realize. Your guys suck too. And that's what I'm trying to push. Anyway, I went off on that tangent for probably way too long. So, Bullshito says, because people are orange supremacists. Yeah, some of them, definitely. Erica Payne says, wouldn't be the first problematic thing I've done. Yeah, I've watched that happen a few times with you. You got a solid record. Jeremy Stubbs says, righteous rage can consume an individual. I set aside a place for righteous rage, but I think it's important to learn how to drop it when it's only going to be you stewing in it. You know, I'm stuck. I'm bipolar and I refuse to get medicated. I I listen to constantly hostile music because, the lighter stuff doesn't really appeal to me. I'm constantly like when I go to sleep every night since I was 4, I've had night terrors, so I can't even relax when I'm asleep. With all 5 senses, it's fucking therapy was a big thing in my childhood, for a lot of those reasons. I'm stuck. My mind is fucked. I understand if other people can find a way to compartmentalize that shit and be like calmer more normally. I am not one of them. So I've found ways to hone it and to direct it well. But I don't think I'll ever fully get rid of my anger issues, so I gave up trying. Now I do work on them. I try to have a good diet. I try to have a healthy gut microbiome. I work out for like an hour a day minimum. Um, but like, I'm not gonna try to fix this entirely. If I just spent all the time working on myself, I would have no time for content. I am a full-time job. So I've got to make decisions. And one of those decisions has been fuck it, I'm an angry, hateful person, so I'll just find a way to use that. So that's my mentality anyway. I've been daydreaming. Glenn Clark says I've been daydreaming about an org that does boogaloo things. So has my sponsor. Feel free to hit him up. Erica says the only people I know that like Yang like him because they think getting him in office will collapse the state. To a certain extent, yeah. Although that means that the Democrat Party is going to be divided on itself, and if voting is accurate, if they are accurate about the results that they get, which I strongly doubt. I think the whole fucking thing is controlled. I think Trump was selected because the elites like having basically a mob boss in office who's used to being corrupt, who's used to being a con man, who's used to bargaining with the art of the deal. Read his fucking book sometime. It's very illuminating. You can find PDFs of it online. I absolutely got a legal copy, but you can absolutely get a legal copy too. Um, I like read his book sometime. The elites wanted a con man. They wanted somebody who wants business relations more than freedom. Um, that's the reason he was selected. Um, so let's be very clear here. Trump is very much an asset of the state. He's not going to drain the swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't get impeached like I said he wouldn't. Well, he didn't get convicted in the impeachment like I said he wouldn't. He's going to get another 4 years. And, the elites like that because they have somebody who's used to being corrupt and who's used to making wild, risky decisions and losing afterward and just bouncing back like all the businesses he's had go fucking bankrupt. They like that. They wanted him. They got him. And if they get somebody else, it will be who they wanted. But, assuming I'm wrong about that, the Democrat Party has just fucked themselves by having this entire fucking rigmarole. They have divided themselves against themselves by ID poll. And the people who want a non-white are going to go Yang. The people who want a woman are going to go Warren. And the people who want universal health care are going to go Bernie. That's how it's going to go. And, like, no matter who says to endorse who, no matter who says to support whom, you're going to end up with a balkanized left that's going to lose to a unified Trumpist right. Like, Trump is going to get another 4 years. Just like I said he would get his first 4, and people didn't fucking believe me. And now I've got a litany of family and friends who are coming and asking me questions about politics. because they're suddenly realizing that maybe I'm not just the insane guy. Maybe I also have other things than my insanity. Um, you know, he's gonna get it, just like he got it before. There are people realizing this has been going on for a while now, and there are people who are starting to ask me questions. Those are the people you need to reach out to, because the other people are practically unreachable. Let me scroll up. I got chat messages. Um, Mad Doge says, haha, I interviewed Patrick Little for fuck's sake. I will have anyone on my show. They may not like being there, though. I had a fine time last time. Jonathan says, anger seems to be taboo, almost as if you're a disgruntled sheep amongst the flock. Seems to me we're enslaved because not enough people get angry about anything. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people share the line from that Network movie where he says, first, you've got to get mad. First. Your primary thing should be to realize that these people fucking deserve your rage. These people have fucked you your entire lives. They serialized you from birth so that they could monitor and control you, and they have done so. Get fucking mad. I'm mad about being mad. That's fucking whatever. Hashtag madlib, like shoe on head. Mark 18 Motto says, law enforcement can charge you with disorderly just for getting angry. I live in anger damn near every fucking day. Yeah, and if you're angry when you're being arrested because you're being fucking kidnapped and your body is stiff, they'll charge you with resisting. Ain't that a bitch? Charged with resisting arrest, and sometimes even just arrested for resisting arrest. You resisted us moving you into a place you didn't want to go. That's the crime. Fucking pigs. Anarchy is Actual Freedom says, actually, this brings up a good point. I've heard some anarchists say it's a valid strategy to get as much government support as possible to take away the state's resources from other areas. What would you say to those people? Like getting food stamps takes away resources. See, bleed the state sounds reasonable, and like I definitely don't have a problem with people who do that, who try to get that sort of thing leveraged. Definitely don't have a problem with that. In fact, I used to be one of them. But let me be very specific and say the state is not bleedable. You're bleeding everybody. And the reason is, the more government money gets printed, the more quantitative easing happens, the more fractional reserve exists, the more debt is arbitrarily created to cover the costs of further government spending, the more is extracted from you, the common citizen. Now, it's not a direct process. It's not your neighbor directly picking your pocket, but it's definitely a thing that happens. Now, whether that's okay with you, whether means are okay because they justify an end, that's an issue of philosophy that probably merits its entire own video. But to be very fucking specific, they aren't going to run out of money. Not until the entire economy collapses, and when it does, a lot of the wealth that people have built up in dollars will be destroyed too. So you're not just bleeding the state. You're bleeding everyone and then eventually destroying a lot of people. Now, is that necessarily, like, avoidable? Are those people going to be any less destroyed? Doubtful. Because those people are relying on this system, which is fucked. But, like, I'm not going to do that personally. I could. I'm not going to, because I would rather try to move past that. I would rather try to move away from, like, that sort of mentality of, like, I want to try and get, like, as much assistance as possible, because if I do that, the state will lose X. The state's not going to lose X. The state's going to rob it from you, and if they can't rob it from you, they're going to rob it from a third party. That's how the state gets what it has. The state gets what it has because it's willing to rob. So just know that you're basically picking the pocket of a pickpocket. You're using a fence. you're getting stolen goods. It doesn't matter what the result of that is, as far as I'm concerned. Erica wants a quote legal copy. I will send you a link to a totally legal copy ASAP. Drinking sake. I still haven't had sake. I mean, I might have had it at one point when I was at a party with a significant variety of booze, but I don't remember having sake right now. So I gotta fix that at some point. Mark 18 motto says, low altitude Ukrainian airliner fleeing Iran. Who was on that plane and where's John Kerry? Kerry was in Iran at the time of the drone strike on Soleimani. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Finian says, was talking to friends tonight that if you are red flagged, you need to make the price the cops pay so high that they reconsider doing it to others in the future. Yeah. See, one of the things like that fucking disavowed podcast guy was trying to fucking promote was Cantwell. And I used to be on board with Cantwell because he had similar sentiments. We just got to remain in that mentality instead of losing it to like identity politics. But yeah, definitely, that's a great way to think about it. Make it so like that's the thing. Like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, if you are rude to cops, if you create a hostile environment, they're going to stop being cops. And I'm like, that sounds fantastic. Where do I sign up? Because like the redcoats didn't stop because of a petition on change.org. You know, that's what I'll say to that. You gotta find a way to exhaust them. Read Ben Stone's book, Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage. It's got some interesting words on that subject. Simthmus says, oh, actually, I think that's Simeon from Facebook. So hello. From what I can tell, the Fed will just print infinity money based on debt taken out against the unborn. Yes. And when it doesn't, when there's not enough of that quantitatively eased supply, you get fractional reserve, which is where all the orbiter criminal banks operate with the interests of the one central bank to create a bunch of fake money that they can loan to people that they can use as money in their system so that they can justify what amounts to a racket. Like the whole banking system is fucked, and it's all going to collapse when they stop printing this imaginary money. But the Fed can print it. All these banks can print it with their fucking fractional reserve. Mike Maloney's video, watch it. His video on gold money, gold silver. The greatest scam in the history of mankind. It's fucking ace. Watch it, if you haven't already, because the banks are all criminals, all of them, every single one of them. They're all complicit. They're all trying to control everything, and if you let them, they will. And one of the ways that they control that is they like manipulate the monetary system to be where they can solve all of their problems by saying that they're solved. That's it. It's just imaginary numbers and trust in fiat. It's support us and we'll take you places instead of like support a stable asset and it'll take you places. It's have faith, accept our control, allow us to fake print a bunch of basically counterfeit money over accounts with nothing in them, so that we can put you all in debt and force you on our system. And that's all it is. It's all very controlled. They will print themselves to oblivion and fuck you in the process. That's what they'll do. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up soon, so if there's anything y'all want me to talk about, feel free to hit me up in the chat. But this was a good chat, I think. And I want to do this like either once a week or once a month, something like that. Because I think getting like a specific conversation with the people involved here is a good way to not be a personality cult, to prove that I still got the thinking juices, and to get like information directly to people who want it. because that's one of the problems with a lot of these filtered media. There's a lot of people in between you and the information you want. And so I want to start like giving my perspective unfiltered, raw like this. Like I didn't use the script for any of this, except the ad read. Um, but if y'all want to see this succeed, feel free to support the fundraiser. I posted the link before. I'll post it one more time. Um, and if y'all want to support me in another way, like PayPal or something, there are plenty of links in the description. But I'm willing to take, a few more requests for subjects. Uh, Other than that, I've been talking for almost an hour and a half, and I'm going to wrap up relatively soon. But I think this went well. And like I want to start talking more directly to you guys, to the subscribers, because you're who keep this ticking forward. The people who are unafraid to like and share this content, the people who are willing to support what I do, like the people who are unafraid of all the people who are going to call them scum for sharing my content. Those are the backbone of this operation. I mean, I'm an asshole with a microphone and a camera and some reasonable editing skills. You guys are the people who put my ideas out there, and without you guys, I'm nothing. So I heard that the barbers don't like you very much. Maybe not. I don't give them much business. And when I do, my hair is pretty fine. It gets stuck in some drains. Anyway, um, all that aside, I think this went relatively well. I'm gonna try to do this more regularly. Um, and with that being said, there's a lot of content coming. So if you weren't subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to support what I do, there are plenty of ways to do that. But the biggest and best way you can support it is by liking, sharing, commenting, all that jazz. Because without you guys, I'm pretty much nothing. So feel free. Let me check the chat to see if there's anything else there. And if not, all right. Anyway, support your local gun printer. Understand that you have the right to bear arms, even if they claim you don't. Understand that the monetary system is fucked and that we're all going to die if we don't get off of it. And understand that you're a slave with a serial number in a system that hates you, so hate them back. That's a good general message, I think. Smash the state. Out.